"And I to the public affairs. Well, somehow I'm not surprised," said the witch, in fact quite pleased. "I always knew you were there and somewhere, Glinda. Well, I thought the better move would be to get Dorothy out of Munchkinland before a civil war tore this place up, even worse than it already is. There are factions, you know, who support the re-annexation of Munchkinland by Oz. It would do the girl no good to get caught in the crossfire of opposing interests." "Oh, so she's not here," said the witch. "I thought I'd meet her." "Dorothy? Now you're not going to take against her, are you?" said Glinda. "She's a child, really. Big, by Munchkinlander standards, of course, but a squat little thing nonetheless. She's an innocent, Elfie. I can see by the gleam in your eye that you're up to your old paranoia thing again. She wasn't piloting the house, you know. She was trapped in it. This would be one struggle you'd do well enough alone." The witch sighed. "You may be right, you know. I'm getting used to stiff muscles in the morning. Sometimes I think that vengeance is habit-forming, too. A stiffness of the attitude. I keep hoping that the wizard will be toppled in my lifetime, and the aim seems to be at odds with happiness. I suppose I can't take on avenging the death of a sister I didn't get along all that well with anyway." "Especially if the death is an accident," Glinda said the witch. "I know you must remember Fiyero, and you've heard of his death 15 years ago." "Of course," said she. Well, I heard he died under mysterious circumstances. I knew his wife," said the witch, "and his in-laws. It was suggested to me once that he'd been carrying on an affair with you in the Emerald City." Glinda turned yellow-pink. "My dear," she said, "I was fond of Fiyero, and he was a good man and a fine statesman. But among other things, you will remember he was dark-skinned. Even if I took up dalliances in inclination I rarely believe benefits anyone, you are once again suspicious and cranky to suspect me and Fiyero. The idea!" And the witch realized, seemingly, that this was of course true. The ugly skillet snobbery had returned to Glinda in her middle years. But for her part, Glinda had no real inkling that the witch was implicating herself as Fiyero's adulterous lover. Glinda was too fussed to listen that closely. The witch, in fact, alarmed her a little. It was not just the novelty of seeing her again, but the strange charisma Elphaba possessed, which had always put her in the shade. Also, there was the shrill, basis, determinable, which made Glinda shy and caused her to rush her words and speak in a full, high voice like an adolescent. "How quickly you be thrown back to the terrible uncertainty of your youth." For when she chose to remember her youth at all, she could scarcely dredge up an ounce of recollection about the daring meeting with the wizard. She could recall far more clearly how she and Elfie had shared a bed on the road to the Emerald City, how brave she had made her feel, and how vulnerable too. They walked for a way in a restless silence. "Things begin to improve now," said the witch after a time. "I mean, Munchkinland will be a mess for a while. A tyrant is terrible, but at least he or she imposed order. The anarchy that follows the deposition of a tyrant can be bloodier than before. Still, things may work out all right. Father always said, when left to themselves, the Munchkinlanders had a great deal of common sense. And Nessie was, for all practical purposes, a foreigner. She was raised in Quadling country, and you know, she may have been half Quadling herself, I've come to realize. She was a foreign queen on this soil, despite her inherited title. With her gone, the Munchkinlanders might just right themselves." "Bless her soul," said Glinda. "Or do you still not believe in the soul?" "I can take no comment on the souls of others," said the witch. They walked some more. Here and there the witch saw, as before, the totemic straw men pinned to tunics and erected like effigies in the cornfields. I find them somewhat creepy, she said to Glinda. No one other thing I might ask you. I asked this of Nessa once. Do you remember Madame Warble's corralling us into her parlor and proposing us we become 3 adepts, 3 high witches of Oz, sort of secret local priestesses shaping public policy behind the scenes, contributing to the stability or instability of Oz as required by some unnamed higher authority? Oh, that farce, that melodrama, how could I forget it, said Glinda. I wonder if we were put under a spell then? Do you remember she said we couldn't talk about it, and it didn't seem like we could? Well, we are talking about it, so if there was any truth to it, which I doubt, it certainly would have worn off by now. But look what happened to us. Nessarose was the Wicked Witch of the East. You know that's what they call her. Don't pretend to be so shocked. And I have a stronghold in the West, and I seem to rally the Arjikis around me by dint of the absence of their ruling family. And there you are, sitting pretty in the North with your bank account and your legendary skills in sorcery. Legendary nothing. I simply see that I am admired in the right circles, said Glinda. Now, my memory is just as good as yours, and Madame Morrible proposed that I be an adept of Gilligan, but that you be an adept of Munchkin Land, and Nessa be an adept of Quadling Country. The Vinkus, yes, she didn't think worth bothering about. If she was thinking in the future, she got it wrong. She got you and Nessa all wrong. Forget the details, said the witch tartly. I just mean, Glinda, is it possible we could be living our entire adult lives under someone's spell? How could we tell if we were the pawns of someone's darker game? I know, I can see it in your face. Elfie, you're sniffing conspiracy theories again. But you were there. You heard what I heard. How do you know your life hasn't been pulled by the strings with some malign magic? Well, I pray a lot, said Glinda. Not terribly genuinely, I admit, but I try. I think the unnamed God would have mercy on me and give me the benefit of the doubt and release me from a spell if I'd accidentally followed under one. Don't you? Or are you still so atheistic? I've always felt like a pawn, said the witch. My skin color's been a curse. My missionary parents made me sober and intense. My school days brought me up against political crimes against animals. My love life imploded, and my lover died. If I had any life's work of my own, I haven't found it yet, except in animal husbandry, if you can call it that. I'm no pawn, said Glinda. I take all the credit in the world for my own foolishness. Good gracious, dear, all of life is a spell. You know that. But you do have some choice. Well, I wonder, said the witch. They all walked on. Graffiti was splattered on the sides of the granite plinth of statue. Now the shoes on the other foot. Glinda tit. Animal husbandry, she said. They seemed a little bridge. Bluebirds twinkled music above them like a sentimental entertainment. I sent that Dorothy girl onto the Emerald City, said Glinda. I told her I'd never even seen the wizard. Well, I had to lie. Don't look at me like that. If I had told her the truth about him, she never would have left here. I told her to ask him to send her home. With his reconnaissance spies all over Oz, and no doubt elsewhere, he has heard of Kansas, I'm sure. Nobody else has. That's a cruel thing to do, said the witch. She's such a harmless child. No one should take her seriously, said Glinda carelessly. If the Munchkin later start rallying around her, reunification might be a bloody affair than we all hope. So you hope for reunification? Muttered the witch, disgusted. You support it? Besides, Glinda went on blithely, having some motherly instinct somewhere inside this pushed-up bosom of mine, I give Nessa's shoe as some sort of protection. You what? The witch whirled and faced Glinda. For a moment, she was dumb with rage, but only for a moment. Not only does she come whomping out of the sky and stepping her big clumsy house all over my sister, but she gets the shoes too. Glinda, those shoes weren't yours to give away. My father made me them for her, and furthermore, Nessarose promised I could have them when she died. Oh, yes, said Glinda in a false calm, surveying the witch up and down, and they would make a perfect accessory for the glass of fashion outfit you have on. Come on, Elfie, since when have you cared about shoes of all things? Look at those army boots you have on. Whether I'd wear them or not is none of your concern. You can't go handing out a person's effects like that. What right had you? Papa reshaped those shoes from skills he learned from Turtle Heart. You've stuck your fancy wand in it where it wasn't wanted. I'll remind you, said Glinda, that those shoes were coming apart until I had them resoled. I laced them through with a special binding spell of my own. Neither your father nor you did that much for her. Elfie, I stood by her when you abandoned her and Shiz. As you abandoned me. You did, don't deny it. Stop those lightning bolt looks at me. I won't have it. I became her surrogate sister, and as an old friend, I gave her the power to stand upright by herself through those shoes. If I made a mistake, Elfie, I'm sorry, but I still feel they were more mine to give away than yours. Well, I want them back, said the witch. Oh, put it behind you. They're only shoes, said Glinda. You're behaving as if they're holy relics. They were shoes, and a bit out of style, truth be told. Let the girl have them. She has nothing else. Look how the people here thought of them, said the witch. She pointed to a stable which was scrawled in big, broad letters, Walk all over, you old witch. Please give it a rest, said Glinda. I have such a headache coming on. Where is she, said the witch. If you won't retrieve them, I'll go them myself. If I'd known you wanted them, said Glinda, trying to make up things all right, I'd have saved them for you. But you have to see, Elfie, the shoes couldn't stay here. The ignorant pagan Munchkinlanders learn us all once you scratch the skin. They had to put too much credit in those silly shoes. I mean, a magic wand I could understand, but shoes? Please, I had to get them out of Munchkinland. You are working in collusion with the wizard to render Munchkinland ready for annexation, said the witch. You have no agenda of charity, Glinda. At least don't fool yourself, or you're really under some rusty spell of Madame Morrible after all this time. I won't have you snapping at me, said Glinda. The girl has left. She's been on the road for a week now. She's headed west. It's been a week? She's only a timid child and means no harm. She'd be distressed to know she'd taken something you'd wanted. There's no power in them for you, Elfie. The witch said, Glinda, if those shoes fall into the hands of the wizard, we'll use them somehow to maneuver to re-annex Munchkinland. By now, they have too much significance in Munchkinlanders. The wizard mustn't have those shoes. Glinda reached out and touched the witch's elbow. They won't make your father love you any better, she said. The witch pulled back. They stood glaring at each other. They had too much common history to come apart over a pair of shoes, yet the shoes were planted between them, a grotesque icon of their differences. Neither one would retreat or move forward. It was silly, and they were stuck, and someone needed to break the spell, but all the witch could do was insist, I want those shoes. And that's the end of that chapter. See you later.